After the family reunion, my fake older sister, putting on a considerate act, pushed her fiancé towards me and said, "Sister, brother George is yours." I'll step aside. The moment she cried, the whole family looked at me with heartache and blame. I understood. This family responds to softness, not force. So I dropped to my knees with a thud, crying even more dramatically than her. "Sister, how can you quit? If you leave, brother George will blame me, mom and dad will blame me. And even my brother will blame me. What's the point of me living anymore?" Still crying, I grabbed a fruit knife nearby. "If you don't agree, sister, I'll die right here." The whole family was stunned. The fake heiress was also dumbfounded. "Joke's on you. When it comes to crying, I'm the ancestor." The first week back at the Hudson family, I felt like an outsider intruding into someone else's world. And Freya, the fake heiress who occupied 18 years of my life, is the princess of this world. That day, several workers came to the house, carrying ladders and paint buckets, ready to paint the entire villa's walls the cream color that Freya liked. The walls of my room, originally a subtle off-white, were also included in the renovation plan. I stopped the workers and asked softly, "Could you not paint my room?" Freya came over at the sound, holding onto her mother's arm, her eyes reddening first. "Sis, don't you like it?" "I'm sorry, I didn't think it through. I thought you'd like this warm color too." Mom immediately frowned at me. "Kathy, Freya meant well. How can you be so ungrateful?" Dad also put down the newspaper. "It's just painting a wall. It looks better when the whole family has a unified style." Looking at their matter-of-fact expressions, I understood. In this house, my opinion doesn't matter. Only Freya's tears do. So, my eyes reddened, and my voice, even more aggrieved than Freya's, trembled with tears. "Dad, Mom. It's not that I'm ungrateful. I just heard that this room was the nursery you prepared for me back then, and this beige color was the one you personally chose for me." I lifted my head, my eyes brimming with tears, but stubbornly refusing to let them fall. "I want to keep it, as if I was never lost. I want to feel what it would have been like if I had grown up with you all along." My voice began to tremble, finally dissolving into a suppressed sob. "I'm sorry, I was being too selfish. I shouldn't have made such a request. You can delete it, just pretend I never came back." The living room fell into a dead silence. The reproach on Mom and Dad's faces turned to shock, then overwhelming guilt. Mom pushed Freya aside and rushed over to hug me. "Good child, don't cry, don't cry. It's Mom's fault. Mom and Dad are sorry for you." Dad roared at the workers. "Who told you to touch the second young lady's room? No one is allowed to move anything. Take everything away." My brother Jack just came downstairs and, seeing the scene, quickly walked over to me, clumsily patting my back. "Kathy, don't cry. No one dares to touch your room." Freya stood still, the feigned fragility on her face frozen. She probably didn't expect that I would return her little trick with 10 times the force. She tried to speak, but I cried even harder. "Sister, please don't blame me. I didn't mean to make Mom and Dad angry. I just couldn't help myself." In one sentence, he blocked all the accusations she might have voiced. If she said anything more, it would show a lack of consideration for me, the victim, who had just returned home, sensitive and vulnerable. Freya's face turned pale, then flushed, a truly spectacular sight. After that incident, no one in the family brought up the matter of painting the wall again. My room became the only special zone in this cream-colored castle. Freya quieted down for a few days, but soon made a new move. On her birthday, Jack gave her a flashy red Porsche sports car, the keys placed in a velvet box, sparkling. Freya screamed in surprise, hugging Jack's arm, laughing and jumping. "Thank you, big brother. I love you so much." The whole family looked at her with smiles, the atmosphere warm and harmonious. I stood in the corner, like an outsider. Jack's gaze swept over me, seeming a bit uncomfortable. He took another small box from his pocket and handed it to me. "Kathy, this is for you." I opened it. It was a bracelet that looked quite expensive, but compared to that sports car, it was just a drop in the bucket. "Is this for a beggar?" Freya glanced at it and said, "Wow, you're so biased, brother. Even the gift for your sister is this beautiful." In reality, the pride in her eyes was almost overflowing. I looked at the bracelet but didn't take it. Tears fell with a plop. It wasn't a loud cry, just the kind of silent tears that fall one after another. The laughter in the living room came to an abrupt halt. Everyone looked at me. I choked up, my voice as light as a feather. "Brother, thank you. I can't accept it. Jack was stunned. Why? I raised my tear-filled eyes, my gaze a mix of self-doubt, envy, and endless sorrow. A child like me, who grew up in the mud of the countryside, how could I ever be worthy of something so precious? My sister is a star in the sky. She deserves the very best. Sports cars, luxury brands, they should all be hers. And me, I smiled bitterly, tears flowing even more fiercely. I'm content just to have enough to eat and not be a burden to you all. I appreciate your kindness, brother, but I truly don't deserve this gift. I turned around, covering my mouth, suppressing my sobs as I ran upstairs. That figure looked as lonely and miserable as could be. Behind me, Jack's panicked voice called out, "Kathy, it's not what you think, let me explain." And my parents' furious scolding followed. "Jack, how could you handle things like this? How could you treat her so unfairly?" Freya's hand, holding the car keys, froze mid-air. The smile on her face looked more painful than a cry. That night, Jack knocked on my door. His eyes were also red, filled with guilt. "Kathy, I'm sorry, I didn't think it through." I sat by the window, hugging my knees, my eyes swollen like walnuts, not saying a word. He pushed a bank card toward me. "There's 3 million in here. It's your brother's compensation for you. Buy whatever car you like. Get one better than your sister's." I didn't look at the card, just said quietly, "Brother, I don't want things. I just feel like, in your hearts, I'll never measure up to my sister. It's okay. I accept it. After all, she was the one who spent 18 years with you." Jack's heart ached as if it were about to break. "No, you are my real sister, from now on. I'll give you the very best of everything." He practically forced the card into my hand, then fled in a panic. I looked at the card in my hand and wiped away the last of my crocodile tears. "Trying to compete with me, Freya, you're still a novice." Freya Hudson's fiancé is named George Green. He is the heir to the Green Group and was originally Freya's fiancé. After I was recognized and brought back, this engagement became very awkward. Freya has more than once performed her kindness and generosity in front of my parents, Dad, Mom. The engagement is with the Hudson family. Now that my sister is back, it should naturally be passed on to her. I am willing to step aside and wish George and my sister all the best. Every time she says this, my parents feel even more sorry for her, and instead, they think I've taken something that belongs to her. The first time George Green came to our house for dinner, the atmosphere was quite tense. He sat across from me, his gaze polite yet distant, spending most of the time talking to Freya. They talked about mutual friends, parties in high society, and topics I couldn't even chime in on. I just ate quietly, being an invisible presence. During the meal, Freya served me food, acting as intimately as a sister. "Eat more. Little sister, you're too thin." Then, her hand slipped, and a greasy piece of braised pork landed squarely on my faded old t-shirt. A large oil stain quickly spread. "Oh no," she exclaimed, her face full of apology. "I'm so sorry, little sister, I didn't mean to." "Your clothes." Everyone's eyes were fixed on the oil stain on my chest. That t-shirt was one I brought from the countryside, bought for 20 yuan at a street stall, amidst a room full of haute couture and luxury brands. It was already out of place, and now it seemed even more like a joke. If I got angry, it would be seen as making a fuss over nothing and being immature. If I endured it, it would be seen as admitting my inferiority. I looked at that stain, not with anger, but with a smile uglier than a cry. Then, I lifted my head, tears welling up in my eyes, stubbornly refusing to let them fall. "It's okay, sis," I said hoarsely. "It's just an old piece of clothing. If it's dirty, just throw it away. After all, these are the only kinds of clothes I have, not like you, sis. Who wears all those high-end brands I can't even recognize? It's my fault for bringing shame to this family. I shouldn't have come to the table dressed like this." I put down my chopsticks, stood up, and bowed deeply to everyone. "I'm sorry, Dad, Mom, Mr. Green, I must excuse myself." With that, I turned and walked away, my back straight and rigid. Each step I took felt as though it was treading on everyone's hearts. I could feel George Green's gaze shift away from Freya for the first time and land on me, filled with curiosity and pity. Behind me, my mother's suppressed anger erupted. "Freya, look at what you've done." Freya was at a loss for words. "Mom, I really didn't mean to." "Enough, I think you did it on purpose." A meticulously prepared family dinner was thrown into chaos by a single tear I didn't shed. That evening, George Green sent me a text message. Are you free tomorrow? I'll take you to buy some clothes. I looked at the message and smiled. The fish has taken the bait. I did not turn down George Green. The next day, I showed up on time at the entrance of the agreed-upon mall, wearing that grease-stained t-shirt. When George Green saw me, his handsome eyebrows furrowed into a deep frown. Why are you still wearing this? I lowered my head and whispered, this is the only outfit I have that's presentable to go out in. His expression grew even more complicated. Without saying a word, he grabbed my wrist and led me into the most upscale luxury store in the mall. The store clerk looked at my outfit with disdain in their eyes, but upon seeing George Green's black card, he immediately put on the most enthusiastic smile. George Green pointed to a row of the latest dresses and said to the clerk, "Wrap up everything that suits her." Then he looked at me and softened his voice a bit. "Go try them on." I, like a frightened rabbit, waved my hands repeatedly. No. No, no, they're too expensive. I can't accept them. This isn't for you, he said flatly. This is the Hudson family's reputation. If you go out wearing cheap clothes, you'll embarrass the Hudsons. Though the words were harsh, I knew it was his clumsy way of showing care. I was forced to change into a white dress. The girl in the mirror was slender, pale, and timid, completely different from my usual self. As I walked out, George Green's eyes seemed to lose focus for a moment. He quickly regained his composure and handed the card to the clerk, wrapped them all up. After leaving the store, he was carrying more than a dozen bags of various sizes. I followed behind him, head lowered, and whispered, "Mr. Green, thank you, but I still can't. Call me George." He interrupted me. I froze for a moment. He stopped walking, turned to look at me, his gaze deep. "Kathy, you don't have to live so cautiously. You are the rightful young lady of the Hudson family." In the sunlight, his features were sharp, and there was an emotion in his eyes that I couldn't understand. I sneered inwardly but said aloud, "But in their hearts, my sister is. I'm just an outsider." Tears are welling up in my eyes again. I don't want to take anything that belongs to my sister, including you. I looked at him. "George, you and my sister looked so good together. I wish you both the best, and I hope I can get used to living alone soon." After saying that, I hugged those shopping bags, turned around, and ran off, leaving George Green standing alone in place, his brow furrowed and his face gloomy. He began avoiding Freya. Whenever Freya called him, he was either in a meeting or on a business trip. Freya went to the company to find him, but he had his secretary say he wasn't in. Freya was going crazy. She rushed over to confront me. "Kathy, what on earth did you say to George?" I looked at her with an innocent expression, blinked my eyes, and tears welled up. "Sister, what are you talking about? How could I have said anything to Mr. Green? I only told him that I wish you both well and that he should treat you right." "Sister, do you not believe me?" I covered my chest, looking hurt. "How could you think of me that way? In your heart, am I really the kind of person who would ruin your relationship?" Freya was left speechless by my words. I pressed my advantage, crying pitifully. "I get it. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come back. I shouldn't have appeared in front of you. I'll leave right now. I'll get out of the Hudson family and never bother you again." With that, I made a move to rush out. Just as my parents were coming downstairs, they saw this scene and were instantly horrified. "Freya, what are you doing to your sister again?" Dad roared. "Your sister is not in good health, and you're still provoking her like this. What are you thinking?" Mom also joined in the accusations. Freya stood there, trembling all over, watching me shivering in Mom's arms, her eyes filled with resentment. She knew she had lost again, lost utterly and completely. Freya started imitating me. She realized that being confrontational didn't work, so she started playing the vulnerable card too. At home, when we were having fruit, the nanny handed the first plate of cut watermelon to me. Freya saw it but didn't say anything. After a while, she suddenly clutched her stomach, her face pale. "Ouch, my stomach hurts so much." Mom immediately became nervous. "What's wrong, Freya?" Freya leaned weakly on the sofa, her eyes red. "It's nothing, Mom. Maybe my stomach is sensitive and can't handle the cold watermelon," she said, giving a meaningful glance at the watermelon in front of me. The implication was clear. Kathy could eat it, but I couldn't. None of you care about me. In the past, my mom would have hugged her sympathetically and then turned to blame either me or the nanny. But now, I have the upper hand. Before my mother could even speak, the fork in my hand clattered to the floor with a clang. I clutched my chest, my face even paler than Freya's. breathing rapidly. Sis, do you think I stole your watermelon? I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I forgot that you have a sensitive stomach. Someone like me, with thick skin and a tough body, can eat anything. Please don't be angry, sis. When you're angry, I feel so suffocated, I can't catch my breath, I said, gasping for breath in big gulps, my hand clutching the clothes on my chest tightly, as if I were about to suffocate the next second. Kathy, quick, call an ambulance. The whole family was terrified. Dad rushed over to calm me down. Mom held me and cried. And my brother Jack pulled Freya aside, lowering his voice to scold her angrily. Freya, you did that on purpose. You know Kathy is fragile, and you still put on a show to provoke her. Freya was completely dumbfounded. She just had a stomachache, but I almost died. How can she compare to me? In the end, the family doctor was called. After a full examination, the conclusion was, the second young lady's emotional agitation had caused palpitations and difficulty breathing, requiring rest and absolutely no further stimulation. From then on, my status in this household was comparable to that of Empress Dowager Cixi. If I said east, no one dared to go west. If I frowned, the whole family would gather around to fuss over me. Freya was completely isolated. She became an awkward presence in this household. Everyone was afraid that she might accidentally shatter me, this porcelain doll. She was unwilling to accept it. She knew she had to find a way to drive me out for good. So, she orchestrated a grand scheme. That day, as I came downstairs, I saw Freya standing at the top of the staircase. When she saw me, a strange glint flashed in her eyes. Just as I approached her, she suddenly let out a scream and tumbled straight down the stairs. The loud noise startled everyone. Mom, Dad, and Jack rushed out from their rooms to find Freya lying at the bottom of the stairs, her forehead cut open and bleeding profusely. And I, standing perfectly unharmed in the middle of the staircase. Freya raised her hand, pointing weakly at me, tears mixing with blood. It was my sister. She pushed me. All eyes instantly turned toward me like sharp knives. In those eyes, there was shock, doubt, and suppressed anger. I became the target of everyone's criticism. If I tried to defend myself and say it wasn't me, no one would have believed me in that situation. One person was lively and energetic. The other was bleeding from the head. Any fool would know who to believe. Freya lay on the ground, a faint, almost imperceptible, triumphant smirk curling at the corner of her mouth. She thought she had it in the bag. I looked at her, and at the family surrounding her. I didn't argue. I didn't cry out. I just widened my eyes. Those eyes the doctor had diagnosed as fragile, filled with sheer terror and disbelief. My body began to tremble uncontrollably. No, it wasn't me. I only said these 3 words. Then my eyes rolled back, and I fell straight backward. The back of my head hit the hard marble steps with a solid thud. A dull thud sounded. It was even more heart-stopping than the sound of Freya tumbling down. Before losing consciousness, I saw Freya's triumphant smile freeze instantly on her face. She probably didn't expect that while she used a self-injury trick, I could use a suicide trick. You dare to act. I dare to die. Let's see who outplays whom. When I woke up, I was already in the hospital. Everything was white, and the smell of disinfectant filled the air. Mom, Dad, and Jack gathered around my bedside, each of their faces etched with exhaustion and lingering fear. Seeing me open my eyes, Mom was the first to burst into tears. Kathy, you're finally awake. You scared me to death. A sharp pain shot through the back of my head, and I let out a soft hiss. Jack immediately asked anxiously, "What's wrong? Does your head still hurt, doctor? The doctor arrived quickly and examined me. The patient has a mild concussion in the back of her head, combined with what we previously warned about, her extreme emotional instability. This major shock has caused her to faint." The doctor looked at my parents and spoke in a serious tone. "Mr. Hudson, Mrs. Hudson, the patient's condition is not optimistic. Her mental state is extremely fragile. Like a tightly drawn string, the slightest disturbance could cause it to snap. As her family, you must create an absolutely safe and relaxed environment for her. She cannot endure any more distress or stimulation." The doctor's words, like a royal decree, completely condemned Freya. My father's face was ashen. He glanced back at Freya, who was standing at the door, also wrapped in bandages, his eyes filled with an unprecedented coldness and disappointment. Freya's injuries were only superficial and had already been treated. As for me, I was on the verge of a mental breakdown. and had a concussion, which is more important is clear at a glance. I lay on the hospital bed, weakly turned my head to look at Freya, tears silently streaming down. Sister, why would you say that? I didn't push you, I really didn't. I know, you hate me, you want me to leave this house. Fine, I'll go, once I'm discharged. I'll leave and never come back. You, just pretend you never had a daughter like me. My voice was faint, but every word struck deep. Nonsense, Dad interrupted sharply. You are a Hudson, and no one can drive you away. He turned and spoke to Freya in a tone of unprecedented severity. Freya, apologize to your sister. Freya shuddered, looking at her father in disbelief. Dad, you want me to apologize to her? You'd rather believe her than me. I believe the doctor. I believe the evidence. Her father roared. I've already checked the home surveillance footage. There was no one within a meter of you. You fell on your own, and you still want to frame your sister. Freya's face instantly turned deathly pale. She had considered every possibility, but she never expected that the living room surveillance camera would capture the corner by the staircase. My parents didn't mention the surveillance before, only because they still cared about her and wanted to give her a chance to admit her mistake, but she didn't. Freya panicked completely. She cried and explained, No, Dad, Mom, I didn't mean to, I was just confused for a moment. Enough. My mom also burst into tears, pointing at her, her eyes filled with disappointment. I told you to treat her like a sister, and this is how you act as an older sister. Kathy has suffered so much to come back to us. How could you bear to treat her like this? From today on, you move out. Think carefully about what you've done wrong. Freya was as if struck by lightning. She was driven out of her home. She had lost, completely and utterly. She glared at me with venom, while I, burying my face in the quilt and trembling slightly, played the part of a pitiful soul wronged by the whole world. Only I know how happy I was under the covers, smiling so brightly. Surveillance. I already knew there was surveillance there. The reason I dared to act that way was because I calculated that the moment the truth came out would be the most fatal blow to Freya. Freya was kicked out. I became the sole center of this household. My illness fluctuated between better and worse under the family's meticulous care. Today, upon hearing that a project at the company wasn't going well, I immediately felt palpitations. If I see the nanny looking upset tomorrow, I'll immediately lose sleep. The whole family lives cautiously. Afraid of accidentally upsetting my fragile heart, Jack canceled all unnecessary social engagements and came home on time every day to be with me. Even when my dad is in a meeting at the company, he calls home first to ask how I'm feeling today. My mother never left my side, personally preparing soups and meals for me. George Green also visited more frequently. He no longer mentioned Freya, but simply stayed by my side quietly, telling me light-hearted jokes or bringing novel little trinkets to cheer me up. I knew that the scales in his heart had completely tipped in my favor. Freya was unwilling to accept being expelled just like that. She tried every possible way to contact my parents and brother, crying and repenting, saying she knew she was wrong, but no one paid her any attention, because the doctor said that any news about her could become a trigger for me, for my sake. The whole family made a tough decision and blocked all her contact information. With no way out, she decided to make one last attempt at the company's annual charity gala. It was a star-studded event, and the Hudson family, as the host, was in the spotlight. I appeared in the banquet hall, wearing a starry night-colored gown chosen for me by George Green, on my father's arm. My appearance caused a slight stir. Everyone had heard about the Hudson family's frail, long-lost true heiress. My pale complexion and fragile demeanor perfectly confirmed the rumors. Halfway through the banquet, the lights suddenly dimmed, and the large screen at the center of the stage lit up. Everyone thought it was a special segment of the banquet. However, what appeared on the screen was me. In the video, I was chatting and laughing with a gardener in my home garden. I looked in high spirits, with no trace of illness on my face, and even reached out to play with a butterfly, laughing like a child. Then the scene shifts to me in my room, humming a song while watering my succulent plants. That carefree and relaxed demeanor hardly resembles a mentally fragile patient. The entire hall was in an uproar. Everyone looked at me with strange eyes, whispering among themselves. Didn't they say she was about to die? She looks quite lively. Are you pretending? The wealthy family's waters run deep. What kind of act is this now? My parents' faces instantly turned extremely unpleasant. Just then, Freya, dressed in a white gown like a holy avenging goddess, walked onto the stage, holding the microphone, her eyes brimming with tears. She said, "Everyone, I know you're all confused. Today, I'm going to expose the true face of a fraud. She pointed at me, her voice shrill. Kathy, she's not sick at all. Everything about her is an act. She used a self-inflicted injury scheme to win my parents' sympathy and drive me out of the house. She's the cunning, malicious woman. All the camera flashes in the room were aimed at me. I stood there, trembling slightly, like a frightened fawn. My parents wanted to step forward to protect me, but I stopped them with a look. I looked at Freya on the stage, at the healthy version of myself on the big screen, and at the disdainful or amused eyes of everyone in the audience. I smiled. That smile was filled with despair and self-mockery. Then, I raised my head and looked at the big screen, softly uttering a sentence. The voice wasn't loud, but through the microphone on my chest, it clearly echoed throughout the entire banquet hall. Turns out, I only dare to smile when I think no one is watching. Turns out, even a moment of happiness is a sin for me. As the words fell, the video on the big screen unexpectedly continued to play. This was something Freya had not anticipated. She only gave the TV station the first part, in the video, after I finished laughing in the garden. The smile on my face instantly disappeared. I said to the gardener, "Uncle, thank you, talking with you. It seems I can temporarily forget those unhappy things, but the moment I think about my sister still suffering outside, the moment I think about my parents worrying because of me, my heart feels as if it's being crushed by a stone." The scene shifts again. In the room, after watering the plants, I put down the watering can, walked to the window, and looked at the sky outside. If I die, will everyone be free? Sister can come home, Mom and Dad won't have to worry about me anymore, and brother won't have to tiptoe around me. This way, it's actually quite good. The video has ended. The room fell deathly silent. If the previous part of the video was evidence, then this latter half is the most devastating twist. It portrays me as a tragic figure, kind, patient, bearing all the pain alone, even willing to sacrifice my life for the sake of everyone else, and Freya, the one who went to great lengths to edit the video and publicly attack the real heiress who had just been found, became an out-and-out, malicious clown. Freya stood on the stage, her face ashen. She had no idea that the TV station employee she had bribed had long been counter-bribed by George Green for double the price. The trap she thought she had set was, from the very beginning, meant for herself. I looked at her, and finally, my tears overflowed. "Sister, why are you doing this to me? Are you really determined to push me to my death?" I clutched my chest, suddenly spitting out a mouthful of blood, and my body collapsed weakly. It wasn't an act, it was a blood capsule I had hidden in my mouth earlier, but to everyone else, it looked like I was so angry that I coughed up blood and was on the verge of death. "Kathy, an ambulance, call an ambulance, quick." The entire banquet hall was in complete chaos. In the final moment as I was being carried onto the stretcher, I caught a glimpse of Freya being escorted away by security through the gaps in the crowd. Her face was ashen, her eyes hollow, and she kept murmuring, "No, it's not like this. The game is over." After that night, Freya was completely disgraced. The drama of the vicious fake heiress publicly driving the real heiress to madness became the biggest laughingstock of the entire high society. To quell the public opinion and to give me an explanation, the Hudson family publicly announced their severance of ties with Freya and sent her to a sanatorium abroad, under the guise of seeking treatment. In fact, it was exile. And I became the most pitiable victim in this turmoil. My condition thus became more justified. The company's psychological consultant and psychiatric experts unanimously agreed that I was suffering from severe post-traumatic stress disorder and an extreme lack of security. The only cure is for me to feel absolute control and security. At a family meeting, in front of all my uncles and elders, I sat in a wheelchair, wrapped in a thick blanket, and spoke my wish in a weak voice. "I'm scared. I always feel like everything I have could be taken away at any moment. Dad, Mom, brother, could I have just a little bit of the company's shares? Only by holding things in my own hands can I sleep at night. Just a little bit, 1%. Is that okay?" I looked at them with pleading and uneasy eyes. Dad looked at my pale little face, his heart aching beyond measure. He waved his hand dismissively. "What 1%? You are my only daughter. Everything of the Hudson family will be yours in the future, to let you rest and recover without worries, starting today. Dad will transfer 50% of his shares under his name to you." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the room was stunned. Not only did Jack not object, but he was the first to stand up in support. I agree, as long as Kathy can get better, forget the shares, I'd give her the entire company. Mom, holding my hand, cried and said, yes, give it all to our Kathy, we don't want anything, as long as you're healthy. Just like that. I gained absolute control of the Hudson Group without shedding a drop of blood. I became the true master of the Hudson family. A few months later, I recovered from my illness and officially joined the company. George Green became my most capable assistant and most compatible partner. He asked me more than once, back at the hospital, did you already know there was a surveillance camera in the living room? I just smiled and didn't answer. Some things are better left unsaid. That's the unwritten rule of adulthood. Occasionally, I receive postcards from abroad with no signature, just a twisted and venomous line written in English. I will be back, I'll be back. I looked at that postcard and casually tossed it into the shredder. Then I picked up my coffee and looked out the window. Want to play? Anytime, just next time. You might not even be able to afford the return ticket. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the 5th day after I was taken home by my biological parents, the fake daughter stopped me in the garden. She leaned close to my ear and said viciously, do you think coming back will let you replace me? Mom, Dad, and brother will always love me the most. Don't you dare dream of it. I looked at her, my heart filled with pity. It's truly pathetic how she pins her happiness on others. You hold on to what's yours, what's mine, you can't touch. The fake heiress thought I was provoking her and shot me a fierce glare. Then, she fell backward into the flower bed. The sound of Susan's fall drew everyone in the house. Her knee was scraped, with beads of blood oozing out, which made Mr. and Mrs. Smith extremely distressed. They pushed me aside and hurried over to help the unconscious Susan up. Susan slowly opened her eyes and said weakly, Dad, Mom. This scene infuriated Alan. He rushed over and slapped me across the face. With a sharp smack, my right cheek instantly turned red and swollen, a burning pain surging through it. Sarah, how could you be so cruel? I've told you before, the misfortunes in life aren't Susan's fault. Can't you just let her be? After Alan's scolding, Mr. and Mrs. Smith also cast looks of disgust at me. I am not someone to be bullied easily. Years of hardship have taught me to protect myself. Without hesitation, I slapped Alan back. Facing their shocked gazes, I pointed at the surveillance camera above and said loudly, is your family's surveillance just for show, accusing me without even figuring things out? How wicked and foolish. I pushed Alan away, and he stumbled back a few steps, nearly falling. At that moment, Susan, in Mrs. Smith's arms, whispered softly, Dad, Mom, brother, it's not sister's fault, it's me. I shouldn't have clung to this family. It's not sister's fault. As she spoke, she cried, and the Smith family quickly comforted her. I didn't want to watch this farce any longer and said coldly, if you're really worried, take her to the hospital. If you keep dawdling, the wound will heal on its own. Only after my reminder did they hurriedly take Susan to the hospital. The gate closed, and the lively garden fell silent, leaving only me behind. Their closeness made me feel like an outsider. Since this place doesn't belong to me, there's no need for me to stay. I never do meaningless things. I live a simple life. All my belongings can fit into a 20-inch suitcase. In less than 2 minutes, I packed my documents, phone, and clothes. I didn't want to owe them anything, so I estimated the Smith family's financial situation and paid for the 5 days at the rate of a high-end homestay. To avoid any trouble, I withdrew cash from the bank and also printed out a bank statement. I placed the money, the letter, the bank card, and the transaction statement on the coffee table to prove that we were even. I deleted their contact information, dragged my suitcase, and left this house that was never truly mine. I returned to my small rented room. Everything was just as I had left it, with not a speck of dust in the room, as if I had only stepped out to buy something. I tidied up a bit, washed up, and then collapsed onto the bed, quickly falling asleep. At 6 o'clock the next morning, my biological clock woke me up on time. It wasn't until I was heading out that I remembered. I no longer had a job. On the day I was reunited with the Smith family, they took it upon themselves to quit my job at the coffee shop for me. That same day, my financial aid was cancelled. Without income, that familiar anxiety and the oppressive feeling of poverty once again surged in my heart. The poor have no time to be sad. Every second wasted could mean going without a meal. I counted the money I had left. only 980 yuan. This money had to last a month, covering utilities, phone bills, and buying study materials for my senior year of high school. Even if I only eat instant noodles every day, I can only last a little over 20 days. I opened the part-time job group I had joined earlier and started editing my profile. I'm young, and with the heavy academic load in my senior year of high school. Jobs like working at a coffee shop or handing out flyers are no longer suitable for me. After much thought, I decided to apply to be a tutor. I was admitted to a key high school through a recommendation and consistently ranked at the top in the honors class. Teaching elementary and middle school courses is no problem for me. Less than 2 hours after I posted my information, an agent from the part-time job group contacted me, saying many parents were impressed by my academic performance and wanted to hire me as a tutor. These days, high-quality educational resources are scarce, and even a 16-year-old like me has become a hot commodity. In the end, I chose 3 parents who offered the highest rates. After deducting the agent's fee, the money was enough to cover my basic living expenses. 2 are weekend in-person tutoring sessions, divided into morning and afternoon. The other is online tutoring every evening, which doesn't conflict with my study schedule. The 3-day holiday ended, and the school gate was once again crowded with students complaining about how quickly the vacation passed. For me, school is a symbol of hope, a place where I can change my destiny. The top students in the class saw me and immediately gathered around, asking about my reunion with the Smith family. I spread my hands and said calmly, "They've mistaken me for someone else." My classmates all showed expressions of regret, patting my shoulder to comfort and encourage me. In my heart, these classmates are closer to me than so-called family. They genuinely care about me. The homeroom teacher walked into the classroom carrying test papers, and the students quickly returned to their seats. After that came exams, classes, and evening self-study sessions, returning to the same tense and monotonous academic life as before. I believe that only knowledge can change my fate. And only knowledge is something that cannot be taken away by others. What can be taken away was never truly mine to begin with. Just when I thought life was about to return to normal, trouble arrived. During class that day, Mr. and Mrs. Smith barged into the school building with Susan and Alan in a furious manner, forcefully banging on the classroom windows. I hate it when people disturb me while I'm studying. With the teacher's permission, I met them in the office with my homeroom teacher. As soon as I stepped out of the classroom, a stack of money and papers was thrown at my face. I didn't react in time and stumbled backward, but the teacher caught me. "You heartless thing, how could we have raised such an ungrateful wretch?" The sudden outburst of cursing left me stunned, and classmates in the classroom craned their necks to see what was happening. "Sarah, what's the meaning of this? We just said a few words to you, and now you're making a scene, with you pulling this stunt. Others will think our family has mistreated you. How is Susan supposed to face people after this?" The Smith family members chimed in one after another, while Susan leaned into Alan's arms, her eyes red and brimming with tears, looking utterly pitiful. "This reminds me of that day. Today is the 28th. I left on the 23rd. It's been 5 days, and only now have you come looking for me. Not once did you ask about me during this time. Since that's the case, why should I stay there and make you all dislike me while making myself miserable?" Mr. Smith was taken aback for a moment, then continued, "You are my daughter. You ran away from home and cut off contact. How are we supposed to face people after this? If you hadn't injured Susan's knee, would we have been this angry?" I looked at this so-called father and sneered, "You don't love me, you love your reputation. You want me to play along with your act of a harmonious family, but unfortunately, I didn't follow your script. Susan is obedient, so you favor her more. No matter what she does to me, as long as she remains your good daughter, you'll always take her side." Upon hearing this, Susan broke free from Alan's embrace, grabbed my hand, and tearfully begged me, "Sister, please come home. It's all my fault. Please come back. I'll listen to you from now on." Her tears fell on my hand, her eyes red and swollen from crying, looking utterly pitiful. "Unfortunately, I won't be fooled by her insincerity. Stop pretending, no one is buying it." A classmate's voice came from behind. The classmates spoke up for me one after another, criticizing the Smith family with their comments. "Miss Susan, your knee must be so precious. It took you 5 days in the hospital to recover." "Mr. Smith, what you're doing is illegal. Intentional injury and defamation have serious consequences. Would you like a high school student like me to explain it to you? I've never seen a family like this, finding their biological daughter and not cherishing her. treating her like an outsider. Only now that she's gone do you start to worry. With this attitude, do you really think you can take her back to continue suffering? The classmates' words were like sharp blades, leaving the Smith family speechless. The homeroom teacher also tacitly stood by without stopping the students. Alan couldn't hold back any longer and rushed over to pull me away. Sarah, don't be ungrateful. You ran away from home just to get our attention, didn't you? Look at the mess you've made. How are Susan and our parents supposed to face others? Come back with me and reflect on what you've done. He gripped my arms so tightly that it felt like my bones were about to break. This isn't about asking me to go back. It's coercion. I'm not going back. A few classmates saw what was happening and immediately pushed Alan away, pulling me back into the classroom and shielding me behind them. What are you trying to do? She doesn't want to go back, and you're forcing her. What's the difference between you and a bandit? Teacher, call security quickly. Only then did the teacher call the security office. The security guards arrived quickly, separating me and the Smith family with batons. Please leave the school and do not disturb the students during class. Mr. Smith became agitated, grabbed the security guard by the collar, and shouted, I am her parent, and I want to take her home. The security guard looked at the homeroom teacher, who shook her head. Your information is not in the student records. I'm sorry, but please leave the campus and do not disrupt the teaching order. The homeroom teacher's tone was cold, clearly not having much fondness for the Smith family either. I am her biological father. Please leave, or the school has the right to call the police. The homeroom teacher's calmness and Mr. Smith's agitation formed a stark contrast. Mr. Smith cared about his reputation and didn't want to ruin his name in City A because of this matter, so he had no choice but to leave with his family. But I still saw the resentment in Alan's eyes and the smugness at the corner of Susan's mouth. This farce has temporarily come to an end, but I know they won't let me off easily. The Smith family drove their own daughter away. No matter how you look at it, it's a family disgrace. They will definitely come again, trying to pull me back. The homeroom teacher suggested I live in the school dormitory. She has always taken good care of me, from my first year to my third year of high school, helping me a lot, just like family. She said she could help me apply for a single dorm room at school and even get a reduction in the accommodation fee. I looked at the dormitory application form and considered it carefully. Although living on campus is less convenient for coming and going, and there are lights-out restrictions, it's better in every other way. At least I don't have to worry about rent and utility bills. I agreed, since it's only for a few more months anyway, and the accommodation fee isn't a big issue. When my classmates found out I was moving into the dorm, they offered to help me move, looking at their warm, smiling faces. My heart felt warm. It turned out, I had people who cared about me too. On the weekend, a dozen classmates gathered downstairs at my house. Their families were all well off, and it was their first time in such an old, run-down neighborhood, so they were all surprised, curiously looking around. Sarah, the place you're renting is so far away. How much earlier do you have to wake up every day? It's cheap. There's no greenery. The sanitation isn't great, and the electrical wiring is outdated. What's the appeal? Just the cheap rent. The classmates were first surprised. Then they all showed expressions of concern. They started helping me move my things, rolling up their sleeves one by one, full of energy. In no time, some got dust on themselves, others stepped on bugs, and the hallway was filled with their exclamations and laughter. What was originally a tedious move became full of joy, with a few boys even competing to see who could move things the fastest and the most. Unfortunately, I didn't have many things, so the first round of the competition ended quickly. We collapsed onto the couch, laughing uncontrollably, laughing at the dust on your face, laughing at him stepping on a cockroach. The gloom of the past few days gradually faded away in this warm spring day. They asked me what my plans were for the future. I took a deep breath and said firmly, what else can I do? I'll study hard and prepare for the college entrance exam. Aren't you going to get back at them? If I were bullied like that, I'd definitely make them pay. The classmates chimed in one after another, hoping I would fight back and return the grievances I had suffered. I looked at them and nodded. Who says I'm not going to seek revenge? I'm no saint. Revenge is a dish best served cold. I won't become their subordinate. One day, I will become their superior. They looked at me, their eyes filled with admiration and encouragement. Sarah, we must not lose touch in the future. If you ever need help, we will be there without hesitation. with the enthusiastic help of my classmates and teachers, I smoothly moved into the school dormitory. The previous landlord was very straightforward and returned the security deposit to me. At the same time, I received my first tutoring payment, a full 9,500 yuan. This was a significant amount, which eased my worries a lot. This money is enough to sustain me until the college entrance exam. If I work even harder, I might even save enough for my university tuition. The teacher recommended several provincial and national competitions to me, saying that achieving good results in these competitions would be very helpful for future education opportunities. I never refuse anything that benefits my future prospects. Over the next few weeks, I studied and prepared for the competitions almost non-stop. In the end, I won first prize in the provincial English speech contest and second prize in the national physics competition. Although the process was extremely tough, these achievements made me feel that it was all worth it. The teacher smiled and encouraged me. With your grades and these awards, getting into a top-tier 985 university is definitely within your reach. Push a little harder before the college entrance exam, and you might even have a shot at Tsinghua or Peking University. I nodded gratefully. But the relentless studying and busy schedule had taken a toll on my body, and I fell ill. The teacher sat by my bedside, gently wiping my face and replacing the cool towel on my forehead. She said softly, "Don't put too much pressure on yourself. With your abilities, getting into a good undergraduate program is definitely achievable." Her voice was gentle, like a spring breeze, warming my heart, just as I was dozing off and about to fall asleep. The class monitor hurriedly knocked on the door and came in, handing the phone to the teacher with an anxious expression. It turned out that the Smith family had exposed me online, accusing me of intentionally pushing Susan and cutting ties with my family, criticizing my misconduct, and demanding the cancellation of the awards I had won in the competition. Upon hearing this news, how could I possibly have the peace of mind to rest and recover? In no time, my scandalous deeds spread like wildfire in City A. People online were calling me unfilial and malicious, saying I didn't deserve the award at all. Some even petitioned the competition committee to revoke my awards and demanded that no one high school expel me. The 3 families I tutored for have also let me go, and my source of income has been cut off once again. Perhaps because of my illness, I've become particularly fragile and sensitive. I feel like I'm on the verge of a breakdown. In the school conference room, I saw the Smith family again. They were dressed impeccably, sitting there as if they had done something incredibly righteous. "Child, don't blame your parents," Mr. Smith said hypocritically. "Your parents and your brother only want what's best for you." Mrs. Smith chimed in. I sneered. "Canceling my award is for my own good. Having the school expel me is for my own good. Making me lose my job is for my own good. Getting me criticized all over the internet is for my own good. So, if you kill me someday, will that also be for my own good?" I thought I would roar with anger, pouring out all the grievances of these years, but my voice remained calm, without a single ripple. Mr. Smith sighed helplessly. "We just wanted to teach you a lesson, to make you a good kid and obediently come back home." I looked at him coldly. "Is that my home? That's your and Susan's home. You say I've cut ties with you, and I accept that, because I know you've never treated me as your own daughter, but accusing me of pushing Susan down the stairs, I don't accept that." I asked Alan to check the surveillance footage that very day, but you refused to look, insisting on framing me. "Is that how you treat your own daughter?" Alan rolled his eyes impatiently. "Sarah, can you stop being so petty and holding on to such a small matter?" Their attitude made me sick. Maybe it was because I was still running a fever, but my anger flared up, and my body felt so hot it was as if it were about to burn up. "I'm being petty, you were the ones who brought it up first, and now you're saying I'm not being generous. I never received a single day of affection from your family growing up." Something like that, I'll remember for a lifetime. Mrs. Smith was about to lose her temper when Susan, thoughtfully, held her back. "Sis, don't blame Mom, Dad, and our brother. Don't be angry. Come home with us. As long as you come back, Mom and Dad will take down the news article. If you don't want to see me, I'll just leave. But you have to go back and take good care of them." As she spoke, she began to cry again. Mrs. Smith held her close, her heart aching, while Alan hurriedly wiped away her tears. I'd truly had enough of their hypocritical act. "Look at how close-knit your family is. Where is there room for me? If I go back, no one will be happy, so what's the point? I've already left on my own, so why can't you just let me go? What exactly do you want from me? Would you be satisfied if I were dead?" if you never loved me, why did you even come to claim me in the first place? You've treated Susan as your own daughter for 16 years. Just keep doing that. Why do you insist on me coming back? And even if I did go back, who would love me? My voice grew louder and louder, and they were stunned by me. Seeing that I was getting more and more agitated, the teacher and school leaders quickly pulled me away from my seat. Suddenly, my brain felt a lack of oxygen, my vision went black, and I fainted. The teacher touched my forehead and exclaimed how hot it was, then hurriedly had someone drive me to the hospital. Before losing consciousness, I saw only shock and anger on the faces of the Smith family, not a trace of concern or affection. They just watched coldly as I went mad, broke down, and collapsed. I don't know how long I had been lying in the hospital, but when I woke up, my teachers and classmates were gathered around my bed, concerned about me. They told me I had been unconscious for 2 days, and it was only after the doctor repeatedly assured them that I was fine that they felt relieved. The cyberbullying incident instigated by the Smith family against me had finally subsided. It turned out that on the day the school arranged a meeting between me and the Smith family, my classmates, with the tacit approval of the school leadership, had live-streamed the entire process. A few of my classmates come from families in the media and internet industries. Thanks to their efforts, people across the city and even the entire country now know about the Smith family's cyberbullying of their own daughter. My reputation is preserved, but I couldn't hold on to the National Physics Competition Award, although it was only the second prize. It was the result of my hard work day and night. When I lost it, my heart felt empty. A tear couldn't help but fall onto the pillow. My teacher wiped it away with a pained expression and said, "Child, someone loves you, we all love you." I looked up at these people who love me. They gave me the warmth I had always longed for, and I could no longer hold back my tears. I cried out loud in the hospital room, as if this cry released all the grievances I had accumulated over these 16 years. Since I was little, I knew my mother didn't love me. She had no job and spent her days playing cards. If she lost, she would take her anger out on me. If she won, she would buy alcohol. She locked me in the house and never let me go out. Every time I hear footsteps on the stairs and the sound of a key turning in the lock, I get so scared that I can only hold myself tightly and curl up in the corner. When my mom drinks, she calls me to the living room. She doesn't let me do anything, just makes me stand there. Then, every time she finishes a bottle, she throws it at me. If I'm lucky, the bottle just grazes my leg and smashes against the wall. If I'm unlucky, it hits me right on the head. At times like this, my mom claps her hands and cheers, laughing really loudly, then tells me to stand still again and keeps throwing bottles. After mom finished drinking, she collapsed on the coffee table and fell into a deep sleep. With broken liquor bottles scattered all over the living room, this kind of life continued until I was 5 years old. One day, while drunk, my mom slipped in the bathroom, hit her head on the sink, and passed away on the spot. The summer heat made everything spoil easily, and my mom's body gradually emitted a foul odor, which soon overpowered the smell of alcohol that filled the house. I wanted to go out and find help, but after starving for several days, I had no strength left. In the end, I fainted at the entrance and slept for 3 days. When I woke up again, the room was filled with a putrid smell, and many flying insects and maggots were crawling out of the toilet. It wasn't until the 4th day that the neighbors called the police, and it was on that day that I found out I wasn't my mother's biological child. No wonder she hated me so much. Later, I was sent to an orphanage, and life became a little better. There were no more inexplicably flying bottles, no beatings or scoldings, and I could finally eat my fill. The director and caregivers often pointed to the elementary school 2 streets away from the orphanage and said, "Education is the only way to change your life. Education can make your dreams come true." So, while the other children in the orphanage would wait by the gate every day hoping to be adopted, I always stayed in the reading corner and read every book there was. Because of this, I became the only child in the orphanage who hadn't been adopted by the age of 12. With the orphanage's support, I went to school and, thanks to my excellent grades, skipped grades in both elementary and middle school, becoming the pride of the orphanage. I knew very clearly what I wanted. I wanted to have enough to eat, to live a life like those well-dressed adults driving cars, and to break free from this suffocating poverty. Later, no new children came to the orphanage, which should have been a good thing, but the orphanage was shut down. The director and the caregivers were all dismissed, and once again, I had no home. But the dean still gave me one last helping hand. He he rented an apartment for me under his name and found me a part-time job through a friend, allowing me to survive in this city. On the day the dean left City A, he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. As long as you rely on yourself, you can face anything with confidence." The Smith family came again like annoying flies, impossible to get rid of. Both the teachers and classmates knew how shameless this family was. The teacher stopped the outraged classmates who wanted to rush forward and stand up for me. "Have you had enough of this drama, Mr. Smith?" Upon seeing me lying in the hospital bed, showed no concern at all. His first words were filled with blame and impatience. "You've saved your reputation, but you lost an award. Our family is now being criticized because of this. Have you had enough? Hurry up and tell your classmates to stop the public opinion attacks against our family. We're all family. Don't make things too ugly. Your sister still has her art exams next year." The Smith family's eyes were icy cold, and Susan was hiding behind them, nowhere to be seen. Their favoritism was all too obvious. "Family? Who are you calling family? Susan is taking the art exam next year, and I have the college entrance exam this year. How could you have the heart to incite public opinion to cyberbully me?" I retorted angrily, seeing that I refused to back down. Mrs. Smith stepped forward and slapped me. "You wretched girl, you're the older sister, and Susan is the younger one. She didn't even blame you for pushing her down, and now you're blaming her. Let me tell you, you have my blood running through your veins. You must come home with me today." Ignoring the fact that I still had an 4 needle in my hand, she grabbed me and pulled hard on my arm, dragging me to the ground. During the struggle, the needle was yanked out, and a few drops of blood splattered onto my hospital gown, stark and glaring. Seeing this, the teacher and classmates hurriedly stepped forward to stop it, and the ward fell into chaos, even alarming the nurse on duty. Suddenly, a scream broke through the chaos, and the ward instantly fell silent. I held a fruit knife and made a long cut on my own arm. Mrs. Smith, who had been so arrogant just moments before, screamed in terror, while Mr. Smith and Alan turned pale with fear. Standing frozen in place, I extended the fruit knife and my bleeding arm toward the Smith family. "If this satisfies you, then drain my blood. I'll return your blood to you. Just let me go." It might have hit an artery. The blood wouldn't stop flowing and quickly formed a large puddle on the ground. After saying this, I could no longer hold on and passed out once again. The sounds of the nurses' urgent rescue efforts and the shouts of teachers and classmates echoed in my ears. And the Smith family slipped away quietly once more, leaving only the sound of hurried footsteps fading into the distance. After that, they never came again. I was hospitalized due to long-term hypoglycemia and malnutrition, and stayed there until the college entrance examination. Due to health reasons, I couldn't study properly. I scored 691 in the mock exam, but my score dropped to 628 in the actual college entrance examination. A 70-point gap was enough to keep me from my dream major at a top university. My teacher and classmates accompanied me in the hospital room to check my scores. The moment the number 628 appeared, my tears fell. I felt I had let down the hard-working self of the past decade, as well as everyone who had helped me along the way. I felt unworthy of the dean's words, "You are our pride." The teacher gently patted my back and held me in her arms. "It's okay, child. 628 points can still get you into a great university, and we can always pursue a master's degree or even a PhD. It's not your fault you didn't perform well due to health reasons. You're still the teacher's pride." "That's right, Sarah. If it weren't for those scoundrels affecting you." The more they comforted me, the more I couldn't hold back my tears. Finally, I chose to repeat the year. I must get into the best university in the country. I want to change my fate. I was discharged from the hospital, but because I'm repeating the year, I can no longer stay in the school dormitory. Out of humanitarian concern, my teacher helped me apply for a local study room that provides accommodation. The study room has a great learning atmosphere, with self-service laundry facilities and a library, but the cost is quite high. Even with a student discount, the expense is giving me a headache. I started looking for part-time online tutoring jobs again, however. Due to my college entrance exam scores and the online harassment from the Smith family, fewer families have been hiring me as a tutor, and the pay has dropped significantly. I can only tutor elementary school students now, to cover the cost of the study room and repay the hospital fees the school advanced for me. I had to squeeze every minute of my time to fill my schedule completely. For the next year, I slept only 4 hours a day, completed 2 exercise books every 3 days, and taught 2 hours of online tutoring classes to prevent myself from falling ill again. I also stocked up on vitamin tablets and compressed biscuits. When time is tight, I even missed my period for 2 months. Such a schedule barely kept me from starving. During this time, the Smith family threw a grand birthday party for Susan, renting the most luxurious hotel banquet hall in City A and inviting celebrities from all walks of life to celebrate with her. The saying, loving someone is like nurturing a flower, is indeed true. Susan was nurtured by them into a dazzling peony, fully showcasing her brilliance, and my youth could only curl up in a cramped rented room, gazing at her splendor through the window. To be honest, I was envious. This envy was quickly digested into determination. One day, I will stand on the brightest stage in this city on my own, to prove to the world that Sarah is not a weakling who silently endures in the darkness. By the time of the college entrance examination physical the following year, my weight had dropped from 105 to 78 pounds. The clothes that used to fit me now hung loosely, with the wind constantly blowing through the sleeves and collar, but I had grown accustomed to such days. Hardship and pain only fueled my determination. On the day of the college entrance examination, the area outside the exam hall was crowded with parents seeing their children off and police officers maintaining order. They repeatedly reminded their children, and the examinees, carrying their families' hopes, stepped into the battlefield that would determine their future. Although it was my second time taking the college entrance exam, I still couldn't suppress the nervousness inside me. My eardrums clearly transmitted the heartbeat from my chest. Suddenly, someone in the crowd called my name, Sarah. I turned my head sharply. It's the teacher, wearing a red cheongsam symbolizing a triumphant start, holding up a sign with my name as she makes her way through the crowd. Go, Sarah, don't be nervous, just relax. Go, class monitor, show your true level. We're waiting for you at Tsinghua and Peking University. Look at the questions first when you get the test paper. Led by the teacher, the students who should have been in class at the university crowded around the iron gate, shouting my name. My family is here too. I'm not alone. I took a deep breath, straightened my back, and walked into the examination hall. I'm pressing it. Teacher, don't shake your hand. Let's count down. 1, 2, 3, 697 points. 697 points. That's 6 points higher than last year's mock exam. It's in the bag. The room erupted with cheers and laughter that pierced the clouds, and my body warmed up along with them. I did it. I hugged my teacher and classmates, laughing until tears streamed down my face. I didn't let them down. That's great, Sarah. We'll be able to meet at Tsinghua and Peking University next September. What department are you planning to apply to? How about physics? You're so good at science. Get out of here. Our class monitor will definitely apply for Chinese language and literature. She even got a perfect score in liberal arts back in the day. A few classmates were chattering and laughing together just like in high school, seeing that I couldn't break free. The teacher quickly pulled me aside and began carefully helping me with my plans. Actually, I had this planned all along. I pointed to the Tsinghua and Peking University major directory and said, Finance, I'm applying for finance. The words fell like needles, and the room quieted for only a moment before becoming lively again. Our class representative wants to go into business. Boss Sarah, I studied law. Please give me a job as a legal advisor. Woo-woo, Sarah. You must save a marketing and PR position for me in the future. Watching my classmates in the room begin to dream about the future, I stepped forward and hugged them one by one. Then we all need to study our majors well. Otherwise, if our professional skills aren't up to par in the future, I won't be able to afford to pay salaries, right? Everyone says that after the college entrance exam, students go their separate ways. We seem to be different, although we are not in the same major. We still often get together, competing both openly and secretly. Some are competing to get into graduate school, some are competing for combined master's and doctoral programs, and some are competing to go abroad. I am one of those who competed to go abroad. Thanks to my strong academic performance, several professors jointly wrote recommendation letters for me, which helped me secure an opportunity to study abroad as an exchange graduate student, with the generous scholarship from the university. I no longer had to worry about financial issues and began my life as a graduate student studying business in country Y, so I ran into that group of friends who are constantly grinding and competing again, but thanks to grinding with them, my ability to handle pressure has drastically improved, turning into stacks of excellent papers, each hundreds of megabytes in size. When I returned to my alma mater, My name was already on the list of outstanding alumni, back in City A. Susan was still dazzlingly beautiful, appearing on all the major advertising screens. She has already become a nationally renowned rising star and the pride of the Smith family. At this moment, my revenge has only just begun. Sarah, have never been a forgiving person. The grievances I've suffered, I will repay them tenfold. The news of my business venture in City A quickly spread to the ears of my competitive and ambitious friends. Now, some of them have gone back to inherit the family business. Some have joined big tech companies, and some, like me, are preparing to start their own ventures. To me now, they are not only friends but also investors, and more importantly, they are the top connections in this city. After carefully revising my business plan over 10 times, I distributed it via email to my lucky ones. Within 2 months, I secured nearly 15 million in investments. Though I don't bother to think about how much of it was due to friendship. In short, now, my plan can begin. I have recruited the classmates who, a few years ago, were eager to start a business with me. They are all top students from leading domestic universities, with some having internship experience at major companies, so their professional skills are naturally unquestionable. The Smith family made their fortune through real estate investments, and it was only after earning substantial profits in the real estate market that they entered the wealthy circles of City A. I thought they were some kind of big shots, but when I grew up and saw the whole picture, I realized they were all just paper tigers. The Smith family has opened an entertainment media company to expand their business. In other words, Susan, the artist, is heavily promoted by their own company. I had someone collect the development history of the Smith family's entertainment business over the years and evaluate it. No wonder they're so biased. Susan is their cash cow. Public figures have always been at risk of falling from great heights. It's easy to be elevated to a godlike status, but just as easy to plummet into hell. There have been too many examples of this in recent years. My company primarily focuses on film and television production. Unlike other companies that prioritize hiring popular young stars and chasing trends, I emphasize both quality and viewership. Film and television productions are centered around the director and screenwriter. With investors and actors not allowed to forcibly alter the script, our company places great importance on the moral character and cultivation of artists, so actors are selected and hired from military cultural troops and local drama troops. Let professionals handle professional matters, and let those who are just for show stick to being decorative. In the first year, not many people in the market were optimistic about our company. They all said I was foolish, suggesting that spending a bit more money on high-traffic scripts and hiring big-name celebrities would quickly build the company's reputation. I remained silent. When did entrepreneurship become about fast food principles? It wasn't until we spent 2 years producing films and TV series that won numerous awards, became wildly popular across the country, and topped the charts on major online video platforms. Our achievements were a resounding slap in the face to the market. The company's market value skyrocketed, bringing it just one step away from going public. Strength is the best form of traction. It was at this moment that I received Susan's letter of commitment. Susan requested to star in a period drama our company was newly preparing, asking for the lead role. As I was reviewing her resume, the secretary also handed me the public opinion reports about her. She debuted at a young age, ambitious and proud. For years, she has been coasting on the success of her debut work, frequently juggling multiple projects, acting like a diva, and engaging in publicity stunts with male celebrities outside of film and television marketing. It could be described as infamous fame. The secretary asked me to consider carefully. If it were anyone else, I would have rejected them without hesitation, but this is a trap I set for the Smith family. Just waiting for them to fall into it, I promised Susan's team that I would arrange a meeting for them with the director and the producer. The director and screenwriter were unhappy, so I had to repeatedly assure them that Susan would not interfere with their work and was only cooperating with me to put on a show. I don't know who leaked the news about Susan meeting with the director and producer, but rumors that Susan is taking on another leading role are spreading like wildfire online. Susan's team, on the other hand, took advantage of the situation and engaged with netizens in a suggestive manner, seemingly confirming that Susan was indeed the female lead. Meanwhile, Susan herself in the reception room appeared very confident. With her long, straight black hair and light makeup, she looked like an innocent, delicate flower, evoking a sense of endearment, but her attitude told a different story. She leaned back in her chair as if sitting on a dragon throne, holding her proud head high. After an hour of conversation, the director and producer wished they had never met this person. Susan not only demanded that the crew arrange a 5-star hotel, find 3 stand-ins for her alone, a private dressing room with a makeup artist and costume designer, but also insisted on 8 hours of beauty sleep every day. It's absolutely outrageous. Unfortunately, Susan didn't know that every team meeting, scriptwriting discussion, and even this casting session were all recorded. As the production began, out of guilt toward the entire crew, I increased the investment in this series by 30%. For the first scene of the production, Susan arrived late. The first scene started at 7 a.m., but the Smith family's black van didn't arrive on set until 1 p.m. Susan took one look at the suburban filming location and immediately pulled her foot back into the car. What kind of place is this? It's all mud and dirt. Do you even know how expensive this outfit is? Hearing Susan's complaints, the crew members rolled their eyes, some more noticeably than others. A few of the supporting actors, who had backgrounds in military performance troops, were particularly disdainful of such finicky artists who complained despite having a job. They immediately stepped forward. Susan, if you want to be an actor, don't be afraid of hardship. The conditions here are already quite good. What will you do later when there are scenes that require going to the desert? Move an oasis there. Although Susan was wearing sunglasses, one could still detect her rolling her eyes disdainfully. Susan snorted coldly. Then use a stunt double. Can't they just edit it later? Green screens work too. What's modern technology for anyway? After saying that, Susan called off the shoot and headed back. Closing the car door and lowering her head to scroll through her phone, the black van sped away, kicking up a cloud of dust. Since Susan was the female lead, almost every scene every day revolved around her. Just as the crew was growing agitated, the producer and I walked out of the makeup room with the real female lead. Thank you all for your hard work. Let's continue filming now. Everyone returned to smiling and resumed normal filming. After Susan returned home, she embellished the story of what happened on set and told the Smith family. Upon hearing this, Mr. Smith was immediately furious and stormed into my company with Susan in tow. Sarah, what do you mean by this? Are you deliberately making things difficult for Susan? Mr. Smith demanded loudly as soon as he entered. I sat calmly behind my desk, looking at them and said, Mr. Smith, that's a strange thing to say. It was Susan herself who didn't follow the crew's rules, acted like a diva by arriving late, and nitpicked about the filming conditions. How can you blame me for that? Susan chimed in from the side. Stop pretending. You're just jealous and deliberately trying to make me look bad. I let out a cold laugh. Jealous of you, Susan. You think too highly of yourself. I gave you the opportunity to perform because of your fame, but you didn't appreciate it and made so many unreasonable demands. Do you think any film crew would tolerate such behavior? Mr. Smith slammed the table and said, You have to give an explanation today, or this matter isn't over. I calmly took out the communication records with Susan's team and the recordings from the casting session, tossing them onto the table. Mr. Smith, take a look at these first. It's clear who's at fault. If you still want to make a scene, we'll see each other in court. I'm ready to go all the way. Mr. Smith and Susan looked at the documents on the table, their faces turning pale. The Smith family left in disgrace. But the news of Susan's diva behavior spread like wildfire online. It turned out that a crew member had recorded Susan's actions that day and anonymously posted it on the internet. Netizens widely criticized Susan for her lack of professionalism. In no time, her reputation plummeted, endorsements were pulled one after another, and she lost a large number of fans. The Smith Family Entertainment Company went into a frenzy of public relations to salvage the situation, but the results were minimal. Meanwhile, my company, thanks to the smooth production and positive reception of this series, attracted more talented individuals and promising projects. We pressed our advantage and released several high-quality film and television works, steadily solidifying our standing in the industry. Susan refused to accept defeat and searched everywhere for opportunities to make a comeback. However, due to her past scandals, no production team was willing to take a risk on her. Watching Susan's downfall, I knew that my plan for revenge had only just begun. Next, I would make the Smith family pay an even heavier price for their past actions. The next day, Susan's team turned the tables and accused the production crew of secretly replacing actors. Netizens flocked to the production crew's official Weibo comments to condemn the action. We weren't going to take it lying down either, so we directly released the production crew's work footage. No need for extra words. A single video can explain everything. Then, I had the PR team quietly push the public opinion to its peak, secretly release Susan's work records from the casting process, secretly release all the scandals that Susan had suppressed over the years. One scandal, the Smith family might be able to suppress, but what if multiple charges are brought at once? The Smith family must be in a panic right now, but they've offended more than just our company's production team. The once celebrated superstar has, overnight, become a disgraced public enemy. The Smith family is currently in the spotlight, and they are overwhelmed with efforts to suppress Susan's scandal. It seems as if the building is on the verge of collapse, if not now, then when. To protect their investments, the shareholders of the Smith family began selling their shares. And I acquired them one by one. I had the PR team add fuel to the fire, and finally, the time came for the Smith family to sell their shares themselves. Now, I have acquired the 10% of shares that Alan sold off, along with scattered shares bought from other shareholders. Now I am the largest shareholder of the Smith family, and their fate rests entirely in my hands. At this moment, my friend quietly reminded me of what the Smith family did to me back in the day. How could I ever forget? I walked through the doors of the Smith family's company, followed by a group of the Smith family's old shareholders. As I made my way into the chairman's office, I saw the Smith family members inside, all looking worried and distressed. Mr. Smith looked much more haggard, with many more gray hairs. Mrs. Smith and Alan protectively shielded Susan with concern. The moment they saw me, they froze for a brief instant. Mr. Smith looked up and met my gaze, his voice trembling as he asked who I was. I offered a practiced smile and handed my business card to him. Sarah, executive director of Star Entertainment. In his terrified eyes, I saw my radiant self. Sarah, how did you? I smiled and looked at him. You want to ask how I ended up here, right? I took the document from the secretary and handed it to him. I acquired 71% of the Smith family's shares. And now I am the largest shareholder of the Smith family, according to reason. I now have the authority to execute and make decisions for everything in the Smith family, right? The old shareholders of the Smith family behind me all chimed in agreement. Mr. Smith's veins bulged on his forehead as he shouted, "Absurd," and slammed the table, standing up abruptly. Then, as if thinking of something, he took my hand. Sarah, my dear daughter, you surely wouldn't want to see your parents in a difficult position, would you? Dad, I see you're doing quite well now. Could you please help Mom and me? Okay, Dad, I'm begging you. He emphasized the word begging heavily, as if it had taken him a long struggle to say it. Daughter, didn't you only have one daughter, a superstar daughter who received all the love from you and Mrs. Smith? You are mistaken in what you said. I am willing, and I feel completely indifferent, to watch you struggle. Mrs. Smith rushed forward, trying to pin me down just as she had when she forcibly pulled me from the sickbed years ago. But fortunately, the secretary stopped her. Sarah, you are our own daughter. How could you say such things and do such things? Unfilial, so unfilial. Mrs. Smith's eyes welled up with tears as she stamped her feet in frustration, cursing me for being unfilial. Seeing this, I confidently stepped forward. You accuse me of being unfilial, but did you ever raise me? Did you ever treat me as your own daughter? Susan slandered me, and you all turned a blind eye. During my college entrance exams, you manipulated public opinion to cyberbully me, causing me to lose my award. I rolled up my sleeve, revealing the deep, long scar on my arm from a fruit knife cut years ago. Holding it up in front of Mrs. Smith, you should know how this scar came to be. I'm a woman who, when I go mad, doesn't care about the consequences. Actually, I thought about why you favor Susan. Having raised her with my own hands for over a decade, she suddenly became wealthy and turned into your cash cow. From beginning to end, she was merely a pawn in your pursuit of ideals, a subordinate in your script. I turned around, tossed the director's nameplate with Mr. Smith on it aside from the desk, took a new nameplate from the secretary, and placed it on the desk. And I will never be your subordinate. I will be your boss, starting today. I am taking over Smith Family Entertainment. You all had better figure out how to reverse the current situation of the Smith family, turning losses into profits. Otherwise, don't blame me for kicking you out of this building. With that said, I turned and left without staying any longer. I have applied the pressure that needed to be applied. I could certainly kick them out today, but cornering a dog will only invite retaliation. In the following week, I could still see traces of the Smith family's efforts to save Susan online. It's a pity that it's too easy to create a tsunami online, easily overwhelming people. Finally, they stopped caring. They no longer controlled the comments or deleted the negative posts about Susan, letting her reputation rot online. The Smith family promoted a newcomer named Aurora. The Smith Family Entertainment is now, after all, a company under my management. How could I just stand by and do nothing? I had no choice but to send a newcomer to salvage the situation. Aurora initially gained some popularity through short video platforms but was held back due to malicious suppression. It was I who gave her a helping hand. Aurora brings her own traffic and fan base, so the Smith family doesn't need to put much effort into managing her. They just need to invest resources. It was just when Aurora gained a bit of fame through a web series that Susan came to me. She ignored the security guard's attempts to stop her and barged into my office. Sarah, I looked up from my work to see Susan, who had long lost her former glamour, looking haggard and noticeably thinner. Susan was now at her wit's end, and it was hard to say she wouldn't resort to extreme actions. As she approached, my hand reached for the pepper spray in my pocket. Sarah, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Save me. Susan knelt before me. Sarah, I was wrong. I'll return the Smith family to you. Please save me. I sneered and waved my hand dismissively. You go ahead and cherish the Smith family. I don't want them anymore, but they don't want me anymore. Susan cried out, grabbing the hem of my clothes, humbled to the extreme. Sarah, please save me. I still have over 500,000 followers. As long as the public opinion calms down and you give me some resources, I can definitely turn things around. I'll make you a lot of money. The Smith family and Star are both under your control. You can definitely make it happen. I frowned. In the current situation, anyone with eyes could see it clearly. How could Susan possibly turn things around now? I pinched the bridge of my nose. If all else fails, just find someone to marry. It was just a sigh from me, but Susan took it to heart. It seemed that she saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Wiping away her tears, she happily ran out of the office. During this period, Susan completely disappeared from the public eye, only to reappear later to announce her engagement. She really found someone to marry. She married the youngest son of a domestic listed company. People in the circle gossip to me that this youngest son is the illegitimate child of the CEO of a listed company. He loves to have fun and has quite a few scandals. He has no inheritance rights, no authority to meddle in company affairs, and has been living off alimony. Susan got pregnant to force a marriage proposal, which is how they got engaged. Fortunately, as a celebrity, her face and figure didn't disappoint her partner, and the two happily got engaged, and her engagement party invitation was handed to me by the man out of social courtesy. Susan's engagement party was bustling with excitement, even if the illegitimate child was not well off. The family was from a listed company, so the event was grandly arranged. Susan nestled in the man's arms, happily caressing her lower abdomen. Apart from setbacks in her career, the first half of her life could be considered happy, but to everyone's surprise, Alan crashed the engagement party. Squeezed in the crowd, I could still smell the alcohol on Alan. With a scruffy beard and a disheveled suit, Alan no longer resembled the high and mighty nobleman he once was. He was still holding a bottle of alcohol, pointing it at Susan and the groom. Susan, do you really not want me anymore? Faced with Alan's questioning, Susan no longer had the demeanor of a good sister. Chin held high, she walked toward him proudly. Alan, just look at what you've become. Sarah is right. The Smith family is not to be relied upon. Now, I don't want you anymore. It's truly lamentable. The Smith family abandoned Susan. Susan abandoned Alan. The bond between this pair of siblings, who were as close as lovers, finally shattered like a glass wine bottle at this moment. Alan raised the bottle and smashed it down on Susan's head. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Alan was immediately restrained by the security guards who rushed in. Just before being dragged away, Alan shouted at Susan's fiancé, "Don't be a fool. The baby in Susan's belly is mine. She's 4 months pregnant, not 2 months at all." The man stood frozen in shock, ignoring the blood still flowing from Susan's head. He unzipped the back of her dress and indeed saw the waist cincher used to flatten her stomach. Susan's redemption vanished like a bubble in less than 3 days. At this moment, she turned her resentment toward Alan. Early in the morning, I received a WeChat video from Aurora. Susan lost her child and was further tarnished with accusations of marriage fraud and incest, leaving her completely unable to recover. Susan, wearing a hospital gown, walked into the Smith family's entertainment hall like a walking corpse. She knelt in the hall, forcing the Smith family to come out and see her. Before long, all members of the Smith family came out. The moment Alan appeared, Susan pulled out a knife from her bosom and stabbed it into Alan's neck. Although Susan was quickly subdued, Alan suffered massive bleeding the moment he was stabbed. The knife struck with precision, a single fatal blow. Susan was immediately arrested by the police. And even as she was being put into the police car, she was still shouting defiantly, "If there's another life, I'd rather hang out with Sarah. I don't want any of you anymore. Instant karma, ha 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 ha." Finally, Susan was arrested and imprisoned for intentional homicide, and later passed away from illness in prison. The Smith parents lost both their daughter and their son, fallen from heaven into hell. Aurora collected all the evidence of their tax evasion and handed it over to me. They are about to go to court as well, with the evidence being conclusive. The parents of the Smith family will also go to jail. At the last moment, they turned to look at me, their eyes filled with tears, but I turned my head away, unwilling to even make eye contact. My revenge is slow, and it is swift, but as long as the goal is achieved, it is not a failure. They have finally gotten their comeuppance. The car drove to the place where I once looked up at Susan's advertisement screen. Now, this area is not as bustling as it once was. The advertisement screen displayed my company's movie poster, with my name prominently listed in the producer's column. Just like the convergence of world lines, I too have made it onto this billboard. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.